this is going to help us pretty much establish like what you want to focus on as a coach. So field goal percentage, it doesn't really matter how good of a scorer some of your players are. Like, your shot selection has just as much to do with your shot percentage as your actual form does. A lot of players don't really understand that truly. And sometimes even the coaches don't really understand it. I mean, this kid, he gives us the best shot to score, but we're going to talk about a few things that are going to raise your field goal percentage just by doing them. We'll talk about that in a second. So field goal. Rob, we should write that down. Rob, are you in range, open, and balance? That's the acronym, ROB. Are you in range, open, and balanced? So one of the things that I learned when I was overseas is they'd have us do shooting tests. And, you know, as a pro, as a guard, you should make, in an empty gym, 8 out of 10 shots. And this is a legit stat. You could almost like test it with any kid. You're going to shoot 30% less in a game than you will in an empty gym. So if you just stand me in the corner and let me shoot 10 threes and I make 8 out of 10, I'm probably going to shoot about 50% in the game. If you and that's how you get kids to understand. And when we talk about the game plans and the breakdowns, we're going to kind of go through how you can start establishing that. So you let a kid shoot, because, you know, I've gotten questions like, hey, well, this kid's allowed to take this shot and that kid's allowed to take that shot. I was like, look, I treat you different because you are different. He's a better shooter than you. It's just the facts. Steph Curry shoots better than me. There's no harm in any of this stuff. It's just those are the facts. So if you have a kid that hits 5 out of 10 threes in an empty gym, he's going to shoot about 20% of the game. And once you start establishing, hey, tall post player, you hit 6 out of 10, 15 at the 15-foot and in. Now, I wouldn't be a stickler and expect kids to shoot 8 for 10. I think your better shooters are going to hit about 6, maybe 7. And they're going to fall in the 30% range as a three-point shooter. That's your typical decent high school shooter. That's what,
adjustment at the 3 level or even closer in?
even when you move closer in. But here's the tough thing. It actually goes down when you move closer in. You know, if you ever looked at the analytics in NBA, they say a mid-range is a bad shot now. And it's kind of funny when they say that, because all of a sudden when Steph Curry shoots it, it's not a bad shot. When DeMar DeRozan shoots it and CJ McCollum, it's not a bad shot. But when Draymond shoots it, it's a bad shot. And the reason is because there's 3 reasons, and this is getting more into the training side. Players miss, because in order to shoot a mid-range now, unless you're in a zone offense where you flash middle, turn and shoot, to shoot a mid-range, you have to do it off the bounce. And that, as soon as you dribble, you become a worse shooter and passer typically. So the reason it goes even further down than that is because in order to shoot a mid-range, you catch it, all your plays, think about your plays. The kids are catching the ball at the 3-point line. Nobody's doing Kobe or Michael Jordan in the triangle offense and catching it 15 feet. There's not very few offenses that work that way. So in order to shoot a 15-footer, you have to dribble, and that's lowering your percentage. So, but that'll be a typical percentage. But I don't really take an open mid-range away from a kid if he hasn't dribbled. That's usually not a place we want to stand. I mean, the way the game is going, you want space. So now when you drive and you get help defense, you can easily get a catch and shoot 3 or a bad closeout for a drive. But so it's pretty standard though. So Rob would be one of the first things I'll write down under field goal percentage, because you have to establish to each player, hey, this is your range. If all 3 of these things are true, you're in the range that we've established, you're open. We show them and tell them what that is. Open means 2.5 feet or further, and it changes according to who's shooting the ball. I mean, we all know that. But in the grand scheme of things, are you in range? Do you have somebody 2.5 feet or further from you? And you stand and show them what that distance looks like, and balance. Anytime you do this, you're moving the goal. Anytime your feet land, that means you were not balanced. Your heels should lift at the same exact time, and they should land at the same time. Anytime you've done that and leaned and you land on 1 foot first, and I'm not saying you can't. When I played, I shot quite a few of those shots. I mean, the defense is at the level where you have to be a shot maker. But we do establish which players can take some of those shots. If you're going to take a shot outside of Rob. So one of the other things I do is I go to different colleges and universities, and I train the guards and wings. And those players spend a lot of time. I mean, at Texas Tech, when Chris Beard was there, each kid basically had their own grad assistant with them. And it was their job to rebound for players between classes. And they had, I can't really remember, make or take. I want to say it's make, especially for the guards, 300 shots. All right. So that's just it. If you're going to take a shot outside of Rob, in range, open, and balanced, you have to be taking 300 shots on your own time. And then we will test you on it. All right, let's dribble at full speed. Let's shoot a leaning fade. And if you can make 7 out of 10, hey man, take those shots. But chances are your kid's going to shoot about 3 out of 10. He's going to be less than a 10% shooter at those shots. And then we've established that's a bad shot. And when we watch film with the anticipation of saying, hey, we'll grade it. We'll say, all right, we took a shot, pause. Is that an A shot, B shot, or an F shot? Those are the 3 shots. And then us as a team establish what kind of shot that was and for whom. So we had a shot where a guy caught the ball. Let's just use the Golden State. You got Draymond with the ball top of the key, guys closing out from Clay's side. An extra pass to Clay would make that an A shot. Because you shot it, it's a B. Now, if that's Steph Curry who caught it and he takes the shot, it's still an A shot. So we really establish personnel-wise who we are, what's our identity as a team. And again, once you start establishing that, then you can hold the kids accountable. Usually what happens is we don't really create these rules for the kids to understand and see, and we just yell out, hey, that's a bad shot. Why? Because it didn't go in? So we don't want to just be result-based coaches because it didn't go in. No, what we're going to do is we're going to play our percentages. As long as our guys are taking these shots, that's going to help us. So when it comes to field goal percentage, establishing shot selection is going to be huge.